Hello, I'm Grant Walker. Thank you for joining us today. We're here to talk about the whey protein ingredient recall. Now with me, Fonterra CEO, Theo Spierings.
Afternoon.
Fonterra Chairman John Wilson.
Good afternoon, Grant.
And Chairman of the Shareholders Council, Ian Brown.
Good afternoon, Grant.
Now, I have read a lot of the questions that were sent in from Fonterra farmers yesterday. We will be using those in today's broadcast. Firstly, John, let's start with you. It has been a tough week for the co-op.
It's been a very challenging week for our cooperative this week, Grant. And I want to first of all just acknowledge the huge amount of effort that has gone in by so many of our staff for our cooperative over the last week. Also, the significant amount of support that we've received from emails to Theo and I and to Fonterra generally from our farmers. And today is very important for all of us because we can talk to our farmers and go through and lay out what has actually occurred over the last 4 or 5 days.
Now, Theo, it's going to be good if you can go through what sort of happened from the beginning. But 6 days in, what are your thoughts today?
What we are saying constantly is that for us, food safety, quality throughout the supply chain is critical. And I know that our farmers are really focused on quality on farm. Of course, after the farm, we need to focus on quality in factory and then going onwards to our customers and in the end consumers. Here something went wrong in a factory. These things happen, but you need to address the issue. It has caused a lot of anxiety among consumers with mums and dads, understandable, because if you have children, I have children myself, and you hear these kind of messages, there is anxiety. And I apologize for that. And later on I will explain with timelines and with a clear flow chart what happened here.
Ian, to you, what's some of the feedback you've been getting from farmers?
Thanks, Grant. I think obviously the first thing is that farmers would prefer that these events don't occur. But it's fair to say that initially they were concerned, and as the information has come to hand during the week, their concerns have lessened, and that really has been a result of the information coming out, the understanding and the knowledge that the event is being well handled.
Theo, can you take us now through where it all began?
Grant, I would like to use a simple slide with a timeline and explain it to our farmers. So what really happened here is that in May 2012 we produced in Hautapu 38 tons. This is the 38 tons we are talking about. That 38 tons went to a warehouse, or got tested, all within specifications, Codex specifications, international standards. From this warehouse, 20 ton at the end of 2012 got sold direct to customers. I will come back later on that, but that was direct. Some of the ingredients, the other 18 tons, went to 3 of our sites where we did blending and packing. So that's Darnham, that's Waitoa, and that's Canpack. After that, we again do extensive testing, but in this testing phase, we test much more. So on the 31st of July, we got from our laboratory the result that there was Clostridium botulinum with potential toxin production. So at that point in time, New Zealand Milk Products got that message in. On the 1st of August, late on the 1st of August, I had a call with Gary Romano and New Zealand Milk Products team on, is there a food safety risk here, yes or no? Although minute or big, but is there a food safety risk? We answered that question very late, 1st of August, with a yes. So brought into the 2nd of August, work was done. At the end of the day, we discussed it with the board on the 2nd of August, late 2nd of August, we decided definitely food safety risk. We cannot take this risk as a cooperative. We went out, informed MPI, government, customers and the public.
So what did this mean for Fonterra in trying to recall all the product?
That's on the next slide. So really what you see on this slide is the light blue parts, that's Fonterra, that's under our control. So that's Hautapu, our factory. That's Darnham, what I was talking about, and that's Waitoa, and our canning operation in Canpack. And of course we have our own warehouses. So the light blue part is under our direct control and our systems. Right? So Hautapu produced the 38 tons. The 20 tons which went direct is this line to these customers. You see exactly the Coca-Cola got 4.8 tons. This is Wahaha. And here you see this is Vitaco and our feed companies, right? So that's direct sales out of Hautapu. So it was very, very easy really to follow those lines, to trace it back and to contain it. So that happened within 24 to 36 hours. The more complicated part really is from Hautapu to Darnum, where that 18 tons becomes through their packing facilities and global packing facilities and blending facilities becomes 2,300 tons or 2,200 to 2,300 tons. And this is the complicated part because you have to combine our supply chain and information systems with theirs. Yeah, you have to connect them, and then you have to go in market and recall the product. So this was the complicated part. This took roughly 72 hours to recall, contain. Everything is back into warehouses. Yeah, so it's all safe. There have been no reports of health issues or consumer complaints at this side. This was our concern, the nutritional customers. And this was done very fast.
John, I want to move on to you. This is your first time out in front and you've been criticised for it. Where have you been?
This is absolutely an operational matter, and it's been so critical that our management team have been left alone to do their job, which is what Theo's just outlined, which is getting this product that had the potential problem recalled out of the marketplace. For me, the absolute focus has been in supporting our management team behind the scenes, working, for example, with government, and also an absolute priority has been getting information to our farmers through the farmer email. But it's been so important that our management team front this up until now.
Theo, everyone's been working incredibly hard, but where does the co-op find itself today?
Today we can, and that's what I mentioned in the press conference yesterday as well, what I explained on the previous slide. The first 24 hours was really easy to get 6 customers kind of off the list. Yeah?
Yep.
Contained, done, no risk. And we went out straight away. The nutritional customers was more difficult, but today we can say all products contained, back in warehouses, no more risks, no reports or no health reports, no consumer complaints. And we get that information from our customers because they sell to consumers, and consumers, well, if they complain to them. And so we are in constant contact with our customers, with our 2 key customers in this case. No reports where in the world whatsoever.
Ian, the council has been following this very closely.
Yes, Grant, the council has been getting regular updates from John and the management team, and John has been keeping in contact with myself over the last short while. And really going forward, the council is looking at ensuring it's gaining the information from which to represent farmers well.
John, I want to follow up on Ian's comments that one of the worries for farmers, of course, is the potential financial impact of this.
Look, it is just far too early to speculate, but I think if we just look to the global markets. So Theo has touched on in the last 24 hours since he has been back in New Zealand the absolute confidence that our customers have in their conversations with our Fonterra management team out in the marketplace in our product, of course. And that was so clearly reflected in the global dairy trade result 2 days ago now, 24 hours ago, where that was the biggest revenue day that we have ever had in New Zealand in the dairy industry because the global dairy trade traded so strongly. And I think that really speaks volumes about the strength of Fonterra globally.
I've got to ask you, why did you raise last Wednesday the forecast payout by 50 cents? Was it you knew there was a problem?
No, that's absolutely not the case. The first that the board, as Theo's just touched on, knew of this potential problem was on Friday evening.
Theo, I want to talk about really Fonterra's reputation both here and overseas.
Yeah, I think it's Fonterra's reputation, but also New Zealand's reputation, because that really goes hand in hand for me. When we answered the question, is there a food safety and health risk, with yes, although very, very small, yeah, and I can explain that later on, but a very minute risk, we definitely did not want to take any risk and take that responsibility. And the first step was for me to go to our number one market, China, yeah, because we know that it's very sensitive, it's an important market. And we went out in China to customers, to authorities, but also in the press conference, and we gave full transparency of the situation. Of course, initially, your reputation is at stake. That's no doubt about it. But 24 hours later, when I was talking to authorities, yeah, and to other stakeholders in China, they said you did absolutely the right thing by just going out, being transparent, don't hide. Although the risk is so small, you didn't hide. You did not have all the answers, but you came with answers in a process of 24 to 48 hours, what you promised, and then you start building your reputation again. So I said in China, I will not leave China unless the situation is stable, right? So late Tuesday night, I really got confirmation from people, Chinese authorities, very high up. Situation is under control, so I decided to come back. Yeah, here, again, there's a lot of turbulence and speculation around the issue, and there's definitely work to be done to restore our reputation, but we will work extremely hard on this. But I'm convinced you have to do the right things, and this was the right thing to do.
Let's talk about, continue to talk about reputation. Your customers' reputation, are they concerned about any further fallout?
The customers are of course, they are concerned about their reputation, because their name is connected to it, and especially the nutritional customers. I would say the people who got the 20-ton direct, and we came out within 24 hours, like Coca-Cola, Vitaco, and Waha, we came in 24 hours, no food safety risk, everything contained. There's no reputational damage, and they are confirming to us we did absolutely the right thing. We did it at pace. The more complex situation with the nutritional players, of course they are concerned. But I've been in contact with the CEOs of both companies, not once a day, but 4 or 5 times a day from China. And we were all focused on solving this problem, yeah, and making sure that this get out of the way, because that's the most important, yeah, to not further damage reputation of Fonterra or customers. So they were very appreciative of what we did.
Now, it's been mentioned a lot that the risk was extremely low, and you in fact have a food science background, so how does it affect people? Now,
a Clostridium botulinum can only live in an environment where there's no oxygen. And when you consume dairy products in a glass, yeah, or in a pack, there's always oxygen. So a Clostridium cannot develop, but there could be a very small risk with the right temperature, with the right water content, that mothers prepare baby food under vacuum conditions. Yeah, you never know, and it would develop. Yeah, and it would really would be consumed by a baby. Then it could have effects on a baby or a child, and we didn't want to take the risk.
John, what's the board doing to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yes, a good question. And for us, first and foremost, the absolute focus, as Theo has touched on, is deal with the operational matters. But going forward, it is just so critical that we have confidence in our supply chains and ensure that all of our stakeholders, most importantly our farmers through our customers, have that confidence. So the board will be carrying out an independent review that will be led by the independent directors of the Fonterra board, and that will be focused on a number of things. It will be focused on going back through what Theo has outlined from a governance perspective and ensure that we have got the right processes in place. It will be looking at the interrelationship and how we work with MPI. It will be looking at how the relationships that we have with our customers and the complexity that Theo talks about in today's world. I think also there is a very interesting discussion that we have to have going forward, about food safety, about the increasing levels of science and food technology and the expectations of consumers, and what level do we operate in as a cooperative in the food business globally. So I actually think from this absolute challenge, you will build a far stronger Fonterra, but we've got a lot of work to do.
Theo, are you close to knowing what's caused this? I mean, there's a lot of questions. There's process, there's traceability, there's timings, and of course there's the dirty pipe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where it all started. It was the last 3 days of the season of production in Hatepu. We do know there was a rework at that day. There was a temporary situation. The stainless steel pipe in this case got cleaned in a normal way, but was not used for a longer period of time. So the normal cleaning regime was not sufficient. That's what caused it. So we know what happened. Like what John was saying, I would like to know why things happen. Yeah, and I have certain questions myself. But what John is, as John is saying, we have to make sure that this problem is confined, yeah, and that we have clear answers to our customers, to consumers all across the world, and to local authorities. And that's what we are trying to close out today. And the why question, why this happened, that question will of course be on the table. There will be investigations, discussions, and we will keep public, we will keep government informed of that investigation.
And I'd go further than that. I think that it's very, very important that we take our time over this next stage. You know, this has been, the last 4 or 5 days has been a very complex situation. There's been a lot of moving parts, there's been a lot of activity. Right now, it is about what we do over the next few weeks and do it exceedingly well. And we will ensure as a board that we keep our farmers aware of what's happened when we get to the end of the review. And through that review, we'll also be ensuring that the Shareholders Council are kept absolutely abreast of what has occurred here, because we all have to learn from it.
There's been concern that I read from the farmers that the pipe seen on TV, well, the question is, was that the pipe?
Yeah, that wasn't a good look, was it, Grant? And the reality is that was a water tank for a boiler unit. It certainly wasn't a good look. I've since been told the outside has been cleaned up. It was nowhere near the milk part of that factory.
You've seen a lot of good things going on in New Zealand, sustainability, milk for schools. Is this going to damage any of that?
Look, it is far too early to speculate, but as we have all touched on, we are all deeply concerned as to the focus and the questions that are being asked of Fonterra right now in the New Zealand marketplace. And for me, it is about earning respect, and it is about reminding our customer, it is reminding all of New Zealand what a magnificent business Fonterra is, and it's actually our transparency, our values that have, and the decisions that were made by our management team that have put us in this position at the moment, and we have to rebuild that trust and that faith in us going forward.
Ian, what will be on farmers' minds now?
Look, right at this moment, Grant, farmers are busy calving, so our minds are really full in terms of running our farms. But again, it's been touched on by Theo and by John, it's the why question or the how. Farmers absolutely understand the challenges of dealing with perishable products. We take it for granted. But I guess the strength of the model will be, and as John has alluded to in terms of reports, is that the Shareholders Council on behalf of farmers will certainly be questioning the board at that level in terms of what their strategies are in terms of dealing with future risks that may or no doubt will occur in this area.
Theo, it's been a big call for the co-op, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster week, you could say.
You can say that, yeah, that's for sure. Again, I would like to say the food safety and public health is top priority for us. We made this call, although the risk was very, very small. But again, we cannot take responsibility for a baby getting sick or possibly even worse. Yeah? And so we made the right call. We caused anxiety and sometimes confusion because of the supply chain. We do apologize for that. There were two worlds for me this week. One was the Chinese world, where of course there was a lot of attention, but quite rational. When we explained, open, transparent, they had a lot of questions. We answered the questions, and they were satisfied with that. The New Zealand context, different. There's a lot of subjectivity around. I think we did the right thing for our consumers, customers, our farmers, yeah, and our employees. So I think we did the right thing. But I believe that the subjectivity, which is still around in New Zealand, at different stakeholders, the people have to think, what does it do for New Zealand Inc. and what does it do for Fonterra? And I would like to make that call because we have to get out of this mode.
Well, John, let's talk about the next steps. What are they?
I just want to reiterate a couple of points that Theo has just made. You know, this has been a challenge. It's interesting because on Friday afternoon, or Friday evening it was, the board call supporting management to make a precautionary recall was a really simple decision. It is all about food safety. It is all about ensuring that there is no way that we can, that we can do harm to somebody that is eating our product. And then, of course, the frustration that I certainly have experienced, and I know many of our farmers would have experienced, is that not being able to put an absolute clear message to those mums and dads with that Karakia product in New Zealand was a real challenge, and we've all got to take some responsibility for that. And that is to be part of the review. How do we do that better? But then we have to climb back up again and just talk about the reason we made those decisions, the fact it was an easy decision, the improvement in science, all of the things that are the reality of what our farmers admire in their cooperative that we own and that we admire and take to the wider New Zealand community and to the world. And so we have to rebuild that trust by a high quality review and getting a real understanding of what has happened. Has there something that we have missed through this process at the moment, and then take that forward.
So the next 24 hours, how do you see that going?
Next 24 hours is all about just continuing where we are. So from a management perspective, I know that our management are working closely with customers, ensuring that everything is starting to move again. There's still a lot of work to do, as Theo's just touched on, between us and government to government to ensure that there's a really strong understanding globally of what is required and the absolute safety around our product, which the feedback we get out of the market is there, but we've just got to make sure it happens. And that has to be the focus, and the review is actually for next week and the week after.
Gentlemen, thank you.